Hello, everyone. This is your friend Naishad Gadani coming to you from a very cold Melbourne evening. And today is the 247th episode of Career Care Package. And as you can see, that our guest is still, will be joining us shortly. Sharon Kilmartin. And today we are going to talk about resilience. And it looks like you know, that she's yet to download the Chrome platform to that allows her to participate in the live stream. So she's getting it done, and I think she sent me a message that her resilience is also being tested right now. So hang on there, everybody. She'll be joining us in next, just couple of minutes, and then we can ask her all the tough questions about resilience and what's been happening and what are some of her observations of resilience, how people habits have changed about resilience, and what that we could learn from the pandemic. Um, so so just, yeah, so stay tuned for that. Until that, we will continue to have our chat. So this is the show that me and Caroline Brown started back in March 2020. Yes, that's right, before COVID-19 was a name. At that time, it's a coronavirus was the name, and then we continued the tradition, and now we are inching up to 250th episode. That would be a big milestone. I don't know if you want to share us some ideas of how should me and Caroline celebrate this really great achievement. Please drop us an email, drop us a LinkedIn message, and we would love to hear it from you. And yeah, so welcome everyone. While Sharon is trying to get in, if you've got questions, anecdotes, anything about resilience, please continue to share that into the chat box, and I'll be able to take those questions with Sharon. But in the meanwhile, can you just drop a message on the chat box and tell where you are listening this broadcast from? Are you in Australia? Where are you in Australia? And if you're overseas, where are you tuning in from overseas as well? So love to hear from some of our listeners. And as I keep checking, also at the same time, I also encourage you to, I don't know whether everybody of you had a chance to look at our one product that Caroline and I have developed, which is called Cards Against Insanity. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me. Must be in my bag. But that's the Card Against Insanity is a card game for job seekers or career seekers. If you're interested to make job search a bit more fun, interesting, and innovative, then that's the game for you to buy. I'll put the link in this as well for you to go ahead and buy that product as well. But I think it's a fantastic product that Caroline and I have developed during the pandemic last year. So that's my product pitch to you guys. As Sharon is coming in the show, let's continue the conversation. I really was very. It was very heartwarming to receive the response that I got from the doodle that I drew yesterday, which is about potential and how the kind of the leaks that you can see in our potential that does not allow us to fulfill on those potential. I really enjoyed some of the commentary around that, that people have talked about how accurate the doodle is, and what they learned out of it. So I thank you very much for showering the love. And also I'm really glad to see that it is it has impacted, or it has nudged people to change few things. I think that's the whole purpose of this exercise that I do, or this creative approach that I have of doodling. And I'm going to continue that. There is also a few other things in the pipeline around the same thing, so you can keep an eye or ear out for further announcements around that. But if you want to kind of give me an idea that you want to see a doodle on career success, career change, resumes, interviews, things like that, please drop me a message, and I'll be able to use my weekends to come up with some ideas, interesting ways to complex careers concepts. And I think that's been one of my really interesting thing, is that I want to really make career concepts a bit more easier for people to chew and understand, rather than you know becoming very difficult for a lot of us to follow. So that's the whole purpose behind this doodling that I do. If you've got any other questions, anything that you want to ask me as Sharon is coming along, please drop me a comment and I'll be able to take that. Love to hear also from you about what have you observed about your own resilience in during or post pandemic period. Love to hear your thoughts. One other thing that I can say, I was at the CDAA's Career Development Association of Australia's national conference in May, and we had a keynote speaker, Shane. My apologies, I don't remember the name, but he used to be the chief fire officer during the 2020 New South Wales fire, and he was, you know, he really kind of gave huge amount of, he showed demonstrated just extraordinary leadership in that very, very difficult times that New South Wales went through the fire, and also following that there was floods as well. And he talked about resilience. He is the chair, or he's the CEO of the Resilience New South Wales, a task force around emergency management. And he talked about resilience and how does he see resilience there. So that would be, I'm going to share that anecdote, but let's welcome Sharon. Sharon is here, and let's welcome. Hi, Sharon.
Hello, I am so sorry.
Well, what can I say? It's a perfect start of a great discussion. That resilience, right? That how, what life throws at us, and then we gotta make it work.
Absolutely. It just reinforces how obviously I'm still not very good with technology, but I'm here.
That's good. No, I think I also, because I used to send, when we started LinkedIn Live, we used to send an instruction to the guests at that time. But I think over a period of time, I have been lazy and not sending the whole instruction. I've assumed that a lot of the guests are using Chrome. In my world, Chrome is the most accepted internet browser. So it's also partly my response. Otherwise, I should have alerted you that, look, you know use Chrome, because that's the only way for you to get into StreamYard. So it's also my fault as well. But welcome to this LinkedIn Live, Sharon. And we'll probably straight away kick it off with, tell us your story, and how did you end up doing the work on resilience.
So I am a leadership coach and facilitator. Have my own coaching business called Step In Coaching, and so work with a lot of leaders, a lot of teams, and I have done that for about 5 years in my own business, but about 15, 16 years in the industry.
Hmm.
And resilience was always something that kept coming up in conversations. How do I get to be more resilient? And I couldn't find, I guess, a model or a theory that I
Hmm.
felt captured what people needed to actually do.
Hmm.
Until I came across Catherine Jackson's book, Let's Talk Resilience at Work. And so it was from that book that I read that book, loved that there's practicality in that book
Hmm.
around how we build resilience, like what
Hmm.
actually is and what we can actually do. And so
Hmm.
that I then brought into my own work through my own coaching and facilitation. And in doing that, I've also become an approved facilitator for Catherine's
Hmm.
program here in Australia.
Right. Excellent, because I remember I got Catherine last year, the year before, I don't remember, but she came and talked about her experience of working with the first responders in the Christchurch earthquake and aftermath, and there was some extraordinary stuff around that. So, obviously, as I shared in my LinkedIn post, that resilience, and another word that was used too many times was pivot. oh, let's
Mm.
pivot to this, let's pivot to that, let's pivot to online and everything. And resilience was probably another word being used. But what are some of your anecdotal observations in last, your own, about your own resilience, and also within the people that you work with within organizing? What are some of the key anecdotes or observations that you have?
I feel that, as you just said, the word resilience is just so overused and people
Hmm.
are a little bit over it.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think the message that I sort of am hearing and am getting is that, yeah, I know I've got to be resilient. Um, yeah, I'm being resilient because I've got through these couple of years of COVID. I obviously know what I'm doing. I can sort of keep going. And I think that's the feel of a lot of people. I think there's also a lot of people have experienced a lot of change,
Hmm.
lots of change in terms of at micro level, like things
Hmm.
changed across the whole world, but
Yep.
also at micro level that
Hmm.
as individuals, things have changed in the way we live, in the way
Yep.
that we have worked. And so I think a lot of people are still trying to come to terms with what that change actually means.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's a lot of, people have done a lot of reflecting on, okay, well, what
Hmm.
matters most?
Yeah.
This pandemic has given us that opportunity to look at
Hmm.
what matters most.
Hmm.
And for some people, they've been able to grasp that concept and that reflection and
Hmm.
make further changes so they can still keep that what matters most in the front of mind. But I think for
Hmm.
a lot of people, they've now struggled to go, well, what do I do with what matters most? I sort of
Hmm.
worked out this pandemic has helped me understand that working from home matters most, or going to the
Hmm.
office actually matters most. But how do I actually make that happen, and why
Hmm.
is it important to me? And I think through my work and the people
Hmm.
that I work with, that has become a consistent message. Well, now what do I do with that?
Hmm.
How do I incorporate that? And for me, that then links itself back to
Hmm.
resilience and well-being. In that we need to work on what matters most, because that's
Yeah.
going to impact our well-being, and therefore then
Yeah.
that's impact our resilience. So I think they're probably, and probably the other one I probably would mention is that resilience isn't something that we just need in the tough
Hmm.
time. So
Hmm.
certainly during the pandemic, as we've just said, that the buzzword around resilience is we need resilience, we need resilience.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we just need when times are tough. You
Yeah.
know, people might be going, oh, yeah, okay, I've got through the pandemic.
Yeah.
I've obviously I am resilient because I've got through
Yeah.
it.
Obviously. Yeah.
But resilience is something that we need to incorporate into
Hmm.
our everyday lives, and
Hmm.
not, just sort of reflect and go, okay, I am resilient, but now how can I keep doing those things
Yeah.
that help me continue to build that resilience?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think they're probably, I think the three
Yeah.
points that I feel are coming through from people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. As I was, before you came, I was talking about the keynote that I heard from the chief fire officer of New South Wales, Shane. I forgot the his family name, but he, was there in the 2020 fire, New South Wales fire, and also the following floods. And he currently heads the Resilience New South Wales Authority, and he talked about that. And obviously, he's got first-hand experience of managing this extraordinary, emergencies. He said, when I talk about resilience, I don't want them to return to the same normal. I'm thinking about returning to a bit more higher normal, if that's the word, but not at the same one, because same one is not going to work for them. What do you have to say about, because I've never heard of a leader explaining that definition of what, how do I want to be, or where do you want to go next after the episode is over and you are kind of grieving, or you're going back and kind of recalibrating everything else, going back to, but you're going a bit higher position there. Tell me more. What is it what we
I
really
think
should aim for?
I think that's an interesting way to put it, and
Hmm.
I agree. Excuse me. And I think it was through Catherine's work that she
Mm,
really highlighted the need that resilience is about surviving, but it's also about thriving. So it's
mm,
not, as you just said, it's not just getting through something and coming back to the normal.
yeah.
It's actually thriving, and that doesn't mean, it doesn't particularly mean that you become better, but
Mm,
it allows you to look ahead to the future and go, okay, I survived that. How am I going to learn from that to help
mm,
me thrive and get better into the
mm,
future? So that
mm,
I can manage and deal with whatever then comes up next. So I actually really like that concept. I've heard
mm,
of the bouncing forward, not
yeah.
necessarily bouncing back. So I like
Mm,
that concept of bouncing forward because, and that sort of
mm,
what you've just said as well, that we don't just go back to the normal, we go back to something slightly different. And so
yeah.
I really I think three of those things I think really
Mm,
are important to really stop and reflect on. I like that you brought that into the conversation. That's good.
yeah. Yeah. But are we naturally resilient? Like, obviously kids are the examples, right? We always say, oh, kids are very resilient, but somewhere do we kind of lose that thing? Do we become more conscious of failures? Do we become more attached to the failures, and we kind of lose that whole game of learning from it, and then it becomes like we become too much conscious of it? Is that why we kind of lose that element?
I think if I can use a sort of analogy that I use when I
Hmm.
run the resilience program, and I talk about resilience is like learning how to ride a bike.
Hmm.
When we ride a bike, if we fall off that bike, we might kick it and go, oh, that's stupid. I'm never going to get back on that bike. What a stupid thing to do. What a waste of time. And we kick it aside. And quite literally, we're not going to move forward, because
Hmm.
we're going to be sitting on the side of the road or the path and we're not going to be moving forward.
Hmm.
However, if we think about resilience being, we're going to get back on that bike,
Hmm.
to help us learn why we fell off in the first place. We might ask someone for help. Can you help me learn how to ride this bike?
Hmm.
We might, if we do those things, chances are we're going to get back on that bike. We might fall off again,
Sorry, I think
but if
Sharon,
we've
I think
got
I'm losing. I think there's some disturbance on that one suddenly. Last 30 seconds. Okay. Can you hear now?
uh,
I think it's
I can hear
breaking the voices.
you, you are
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why, because I can hear you, but then I lose you. Can I request you one thing? If you, I'm going to, if you log back in,
and
try to log back in. So if you go out, leave the studio and come back again. Yeah, let's see if that works out, because we are having, yeah, leave and then come back. Yeah, yeah. Okay, look, this is what happens when you do live sessions. Okay, you got to be ready with all the emergencies and things that come up with. So if you can hold on, everybody, if, for watching, if you can, because we are just getting into the meatier topic, with Sharon. I would love this is also testing your patience too. So I don't know whether you can go and grab a coffee, get a glass of water, glass of wine, whatever is your poison. And if you can just hang on so that Sharon can join us again and we continue our really interesting discussion around resilience. But if you got anecdotes, if you can share what you consider resilience and how you have done that, or what are your observations about yourself and how have you dealt with resilience, whether that came to your career challenges or whether that's due to COVID situation, or would love to get your anecdotes as well, because I think the more anecdotes that we hear, the more richer the conversation is, and we can all learn from one another's experience as well. Okay, so I think Sharon is back now. Let's see if we can get her back, and then we continue the discussion. Okay, all right. So hopefully, I don't know why suddenly I think the voice was not particularly coming through. Nah, it's frozen, Sharon, again. Is it NBN? Uh, yeah, could be. I don't know. It's frozen again. All right, let's see. Okay, okay. I'll see if let's try that back again and see if we can get Sharon back in. Sorry, guys. All right, let's see. Nah, okay. She's gone again. Hopefully, she's going to come back. All right. There's is first time to everything, and this is the first time of we experiencing. All right, Sharon. I'm
This
telling
is
you, I'm. This is resilience in action.
this is embarrassing.
Not at all. We have had a lot of this, and I that's what I like. I like to this is the whole thing about live news and everything else, right? Anything could go wrong. We just take everything in strides. But let's continue. I think we started to talk about that bike example that you were talking about.
So I'm not sure how far we got, but I was talking about falling off that bike, sort of
Yeah.
pushing it aside, and then I was talking about getting on that bike and
Hmm.
learning how to ride the bike, having the support, and literally moving forward. And I think that is a good way for us to think about our resilience.
Hmm.
And back to what you said, do we all have resilience? As
Hmm.
kids, we say that children are resilient,
Hmm.
but what happens to that resilience?
Hmm.
If you think about it, as adults,
Hmm.
when we want to learn something or take on something, so for example, jumping on a bike, chances are if we were to fall off that bike as adults, I think there's a
Hmm.
bit of perhaps embarrassment that
Yep.
we don't know how to do that. So we might not get back on that bike. And
Hmm.
I think that somewhere that's where our resilience gets lost. That potentially as we've grown up,
Hmm.
and we may have got feedback as we're growing up, oh, well, if you don't know how to do it by now, you're never going to learn how to do it type thing. And
Hmm.
so our resilience fades away and we go back to that comfort zone of only
Hmm.
doing the things that we know how to do and we're confident to do. We don't, one of the important things about building, we go to learning space,
Hmm.
put ourselves in situations where we are going to learn different things. And that could be literally learning how to bike and putting
Hmm.
ourselves in those situations where we can grow. And so I just think that that analogy is a really useful one to stop and think about how, as adults, we react when we don't know how to do something. I know Catherine's program, the one of the comments is about being happy to suck at something
Hmm.
new. Like it's okay
Hmm.
that if we're learning something
Yeah.
new, we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
We have to keep trying. That's actually a good thing. And I think that's exactly children don't know. The children that is about, and the movement that we
Hmm.
give them as adults is plays such an important part into building their resilience. So I
Hmm.
think it's really interesting for adults where we might lose that level of resilience.
Hmm.
Another analogy I also
Hmm.
like to use, that resilience is like a muscle that just like any muscle in our body, we know we until we go to use it. So we might not know that I might not know that I need the muscles in my arm until I go to
Hmm.
lift something heavy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we, I'm thinking,
I think Sharon,
oh,
I think the our
hang
internet connection
on,
is probably letting
why? I built that muscle up?
Yeah.
And I think that's what resilience is like. We go back to what we were saying before, that we need resilience when things get tough, and then all of a sudden we reach out for that resilience and we muscle there. So I think, again, this whole time is just
I think Sharon, I think the internet connection that, you know, is probably letting us down. I can hear you sometime and then suddenly I can't hear you. So I think I don't know whether that's let me check from my end too if there are anything from my end I need to do. But the conversation is such an interesting one, and I feel that I'm not able to fully listen and understand what. Yeah. All right. Okay. So how about guys? I think there's some tricky issues going on Sharon's end. How about we probably end on today's session, and we'll come back to you. See if we can do the same session next week on Tuesday and talk about resilience again. So this is what happens when you do live shows, right? Things sometimes go pear shaped, and you got to learn from it. So obviously me and Sharon will learn from it, and we'll bring you this show again next week Tuesday, or whenever Sharon is available next time. But yeah, please keep yourself warm if you are in Melbourne, and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week, Tuesday, and we'll let you know who's coming on the show. All right, bye for now, everyone. And sorry about today. Sorry.